Sekikawa of Japan getting a good clean and jerk attempt at 120 kilos to get us underway in the second half of this men's 56 kilo competition. If you just come in, it's Wu Meiyin, the Asian Games champion, who leads at the halfway stage with 127.5 kilos, and a real opportunity obviously to take the title. Mutlu of Turkey injured on the recovery trail, but won't be back in international action at a major championship before the spring of next year as he rebuilds his power, and he'll be as fascinated as everyone, David, to see his likely challengers. So the next man will be Sekikawa, following himself, 125 kilos being loaded on the bar. So the clean and jerk, just one lift old, about to make his second attempt, and the bar going up to 130 kilos, in fact, David. And could be Sekikawa, who opened up on a 120 just to safely get one on the board to give himself a total. Currently, he's behind Kanzidi of Greece, who lifted in the B group earlier today, who managed a clean and jerk attempt of 135 kilos, which is a decent effort. But Sekikawa now coming in to be within 5 kilos of that mark.
It's 130 kilos, that's 286 pounds. Remember, body weight of these men, 56 kilos. So we're now way over double body weight, fast approaching the 300 pounds mark.
Well, you could see the thinking behind the 120 to start off, David. He wasn't that convincing in the snatch phase. Put the 120 in and then give it a go.
Nothing to lose. As for this man, it's all about personal records, not medals.
But at the moment he's anchored on a total of 225. That's quite a long way behind Kanzidi of Greece, who totaled up 242.5. A lot of his good work coming in the clean and jerk, but where he went 125, 130, 135. Only got 107.5 though in the snatch.
So 130 staying for the same lifter. Clock ticking away. There's 100. I should say there's 1 minute 10 seconds left.
Quite interesting to see how Mutlu gets on, David, when he does come back. You were thinking, well, will he stay at 56 kilos? Might he move up to 62 kilos?
Well, I haven't spoke to him about his training lifts that he's done overweight. The lifts that he's done, sort of weighing 4 or 5 kilos over the 56 limit, are actually in excess of the world records in the weight class above. So it almost doesn't make sense for him to come down. Why suffer and sit in the sauna and not eat for a week when you could stay up and win anyway?
But would he be a light 62 kilo lifter?
Well, in theory, he would be a light 62 kilo lifter to start off with, but as the months went on, I guess his aim before the Olympic Games would be to get his weight up to sort of 60, 64, 65 kilos, so that he can get even bigger training weights and then reduce in the same way that he did as a 56 kilo lifter and get the maximum out of himself. But if he does move up, it'll certainly be very interesting.
Yes, he's not, mind you, he's not in well into his 30s as Dimas and Kakashvilis are, and I suppose the inevitable has arrived for them, with both of them now deciding that, you know, they have to move up.
Yeah. Yes, and he was actually posted at 135, decided to come down to 132.5, and looking at that first attempt, I can see why. Obviously, his warm-up didn't go as well as expected, so they decided to bring him down.
Well, he was
get one in.
David, he was well off his marks in terms of personal best performances in the snatch phase, so I think the signs were there that Eric is in fair shape, but not fantastic shape.
Going back to Mutlu, what would be very interesting with him if he actually moved up? If you remember, he, as a 56 kilo lifter, he clean and jerked. He was one of the few people to clean and jerk triple body weight with 168 kilos. I wonder if he could do it as a 62er. You'd need to do 187.5. That would be some lifting.
Would indeed. Just another topic of conversation, always comes up, but here we are. And Wang of China winning all the golds and world records in the women's division earlier in the day. Wu going pretty well here, and could be in a similar situation in the next 30 minutes. Why are the Chinese so good? Well, obviously they have a large population to draw from. They can really research their talent, but it's not as simple as just that. It's not just a numbers game.
I don't think it's as simple as just that, because if it was, all the Chinese men would win all the weight classes in the same way as the Chinese women do. But I think it is very much a numbers game, because somebody gave me a statistic that there are more women Chinese weightlifters than women weightlifters in the rest of the world put together. So just statistically, you would think that they would be able to produce the best weightlifters, and plus they've got a good system behind them. They've got good knowledge of training. In terms of genetic abilities, I don't know. The Chinese done some Chinese women anyway seem to have done some pretty good things across the board in sport. So maybe they've got some genetic advantage. I don't know, that stems from you know, thousands of years of evolution. Who knows?
Eric Bodell, good for him. Second clean and jerk there, which you saw was actually better than the first.
Yes, and we've now gone over the 300-pound mark. 300 pounds, or 137.5 kilos is 303 pounds, and we're now well over that, with the bar moving to 142.5 kilos.
168 kilos lifted by Mutlu. You mentioned a few moments ago. That was in the European Championships in Trenčín in 2001. So 168 kilos, can't see that being attacked today. Just looking at Wu.
I think Wu's done 162.5.
Yes, but I'm not convinced that he's in there and able to go much further than that. If he does 162.5, fair enough, but I can't see anybody taking. I mean, it'd be phenomenal for Wu or anybody else for that matter to attack Mutlu's 168. I mean, certainly provide us with a wonderful finale to tonight's competition, but wishful thinking. So here's Bonnell, another 5 kilos gone on the bar. But 5 kilos too much.
Yes, he's clearly not at his best.
Yeah, he can do 147.5. So Zhigao with a bronze medal already from the snatch, 2.5 kilos off the pace behind Wu Mei-yin and Yang Xin Yi, respectively, of China and Taipei. And the clock stops. And Adrian is going to be stopped. He's not going to lift. Wang Xin Huan is going to take his place on the stage. He's going to come in for his first attempt. Wang Xingmei.
Yeah, for the people at home who are wondering why Wang Xin is coming in 145, it will be purely because at the weigh-in he drew a different lot number, which entitled him, or which makes him have to come out first on this weight.
And he's got coming up to half a minute, so a little bit rushed.
Not easy, but it's the total. So he now gets that 145 along with the 120 that he snatched earlier.
Yes, takes the competition into a, or I should say onto a different level, with 265 as a total. Bonnell at the moment down in second place overall with 250, but that gives you an idea of the gap between those two men in particular, and it is what it should be Zhigao. It is Zhigao.
Yes, Zhigao is usually known for being extremely powerful in the first phase of the lift, but a bit hit and miss in the jerk section. So is today going to be his day?
Well, he's not looked bad.
Very strong in the first phase.
Yeah, nice economic clean, and that's about as we see him, really. And there should be at least, I would think, another 5 kilos to come, David. After that, not sure, but 5 kilos more he must be able to make. And I think obviously the coaches now are going to be urging him on, you know, trying to get everything out of him, because, you know, doors are opening, possibilities are there. Same for this man. Oh, how much better it would have been.
Look, it puts it into perspective of how small these guys are.
But how much more different could it have been, David, for this man if he'd lifted the 125 in the snatch? You know, now he finds himself 7.5 kilos behind Wu. He's 5 kilos behind Zhigao. You know, if he'd got that extra 5 kilos on the snatch, he'd have been there or thereabouts.
He's also sustained some kind of an injury, so it makes you wonder if it may be better for him to not continue, to maybe not push himself, allow his back to heal, and live to fight another day.
Well, he's right on a. And that's Mr. Mokranowski, our public address speaker, well known to weightlifting fans all over Europe. So 145 kilos. This is on his personal best mark. But he's got the total.
But he's in pain. Limps off. So,
by virtue of lighter body weight, now leads the clean and jerk and the overall competition ahead of Wang, but he'll be lucky to hold on to that, and he probably, David, he's going to be very lucky if he ends up with a medal. He's going to need a big slice of luck.
Well, he's got an important, or the coaches and himself have got a very important decision to make now. Do they go on and push him really hard and try and get into a medal position, or do they just say, look, you've made a total, you know, we're not really sure what the problem with your back is, and you know, we'll call it a day.
Yes, I mean, he's and if they make the wrong move now, he could lose a season, and next season is crucial if you want to be in the Olympics. Debeniev, the European champion. Just out of the medals in the snatch, pushed down to 4th place by virtue of his heavier body weight at 55.80. He's one of the heavier men in the competition.
Yeah, when he won the European Championships, he didn't make any mistakes. He got all 6 attempts, if you remember. And today, he's already made a mistake on the snatch that was very, very costly. And has now failed with his first clean and jerk.
Well, he wasn't very convincing on the first snatch, but then, you know, proceeded to improve. We can only hope that he does exactly the same in the clean and jerk. But this competition, it's not really on fire, is it? It's sort of stuttering. It needs someone to go out there and take it by the scruff of the neck and you know, sort of really force the issue with everybody. But the only person who will be perfectly satisfied with this state of play will be Wu, because he's not having to push himself as hard as he might. And a fit Mutlu, I think, would have had this lot for breakfast.
An unfit Mutlu would have probably.
Now, if he's got any aspirations to play a part in the fight for overall medals, he's got to lift this.
So,
this is not the man we saw in the European Championships.
Certainly not. And again, limping off.
Very disappointing. You know, Mutlu absent through injury at the Europeans. Door wide open, came in, took full advantage. Here today, another opportunity.
Yeah, it looks, again, he was limping off though. It looks as if he's sustained an injury in the warm-up. But of course, you see, if you know, the bar gets to a certain weight, you sustain an injury, you can't go down. So you have the option to either go out and try anyway, or pull out of the competition. It's always a tough decision.
It's quite interesting to operate this at a high jump competition. Steen Grimseth has done that a few times with his big super heavyweight competition up in Norway, inviting the best super heavyweight lifters to his hometown and overlooking the fjord and getting them all to lift exactly as the way you were outlining earlier on, where you have I'm not sure whether he gives them 2 or 3 lifts at each weight, but you just lift on and on and on and on until somebody survives and the rest have fallen by the wayside. Quite exciting, and the chess game is very much in you know, as part of the competition as it is here, but it's arguably more comprehensible. Well, I wouldn't have imagined at the beginning of the evening that I'd be looking here wondering whether this man was going to total. But that's exactly what I'm wondering at the moment. That was the best of the 3 cleans. No.
So the European champion...
Nothing.
...is out. Well, not nothing, because he got a medal on the snatch, but in terms of the total...
Well, no, he hasn't got a medal on the snatch.
He not get a medal on the snatch?
No, he didn't, because he was pushed down into... 4th place, if my memory... Yes, pushed down to 4th place on the body weight.
So European champion out with is out with nothing.
So Wu Mei Yin yet to start. Yang Shin for Taipei also yet to start. And the Hungarian and Wang and Zhigao all have 2 lifts. Now this is where the coaches have got to be really intelligent. They've got to understand, David, the ability of their man. Very tempting in this situation with 1 or 2 falling by the Y side to be lulled into being rather over-ambitious. But this is 5 kilos up
on the clean.
And he's good on the jerk as well, because that's very good. I said I thought 5 kilos more was possible. What happens from here on in, I'm not so certain.
And he's up for it. Yeah, he really is up for it. He's seeing the opportunity, and he's really giving these lifts 100%.
But he does have a weight problem as well, David, because Wu is lighter than him, Yang is lighter than him, and actually the Hungarian in picture now is lighter than a lot of them. But
which is maybe the reason that he's decided to go on in the clean and jerk regardless of the back injury that he's obviously sustained, because that lighter body weight could give him a medal.
Only if he lifts this. If he doesn't make this, David, then frankly medal chances are gone.
And again, this is a real mind game. As well as it being a heavy weight, he's got to ignore whatever pain he's feeling.
No, he didn't like that, and I don't think he's going to like the 3rd one. Well, this competition with a reduced field, a couple of absentees, has really cut up, I have to say, and it's playing all to the advantage of Wu.
The man we're looking at the moment is warming up there with 120 kilos. And that's 130 kilos correction. Didn't see the 5s on either end.
Niku Vlad there on the left. He'll be very pleased with Zhigao's performance.
So the bar remaining 150 kilos. And we're waiting for Laszlo. 1 minute remaining.
Would he take the lift? Well, they're going to put him out again.
So 330 pounds on the bar, 150 kilos for a man who weighs less than 56 kilos.
So 11 lifts to go.
Well, I'm not sure if it was a good idea of the coaches to send him out at all, really. I mean, he could have really done some damage there.
Well, they give him a pat on the back for giving it a go, but as you say, could have been harmful. As it is, I think they've got away with it, that he's not...
Look, all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
So we now wait to see the next weight on the bar.
Well, Yang at 152.5 kilos is where I think we're headed. Yang of Taipei.
There's another example of how small these men are. Probably the average height in this weight class is about 5'1", I would have thought.
So the snatch silver medalist, 2.5 kilos behind Wu, comes out for his first attempt in the clean and jerk, 152 kilos on the bar.
He's got to get a move on. He's got 8 seconds. He's got to get that bar past his knee. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. No lift.
Timed out.
Or is he timed out?
Timed out. Well, that's a complete mess and a complete waste of time. And frankly, that's down to his coaches.
Being badly coached, that's right. All the communications is in the warm-up room. And he had plenty of time to get out there onto the platform. Now, if he'd have actually pulled that bar past the knees before he was timed out, he would have been able to carry on with the lift, because you have a minute to start the lift. And by start the lift, I mean get it past the knees. Not a minute to complete the lift. So he was 1 second too late there.
So Wang out now for his next attempt at the clean and jerk. Now this is a 7.5 kilo increase. I'm not sure about that, David. I'm really not sure about that.
The right arm would look to be pressing out, but he may actually get away with that, and he has. See, this is another reason why I think that they shouldn't have a rule about pressing out. Because the trouble with it is that what it does, it opens up all sorts of problems. Because, for example, you could argue that was a no lift. You know, you could argue that he pressed out on the right arm, and yet he got the lift.
He's got the arm straight.
We could see that he pressed that right arm out, and he got the lift. However, somebody else could come out, do exactly the same, and get a no lift. So the consistency in the refereeing is not there.
So what you're saying is, it doesn't matter if he gets a press out, but as long as there is a point at which the arms are straight and locked,
and the feet are in line, right, then it's a good lift. And then it would think it would make things a lot fairer. Because if I was competing against him and that lift was the lift to beat me, I'd be really annoyed that he'd been given a good lift with the ruling as it is.
Well, there's something else for you to talk to us on the website, www.weightlifting.de. And now Yang with still same problem, David. He's only got 15 seconds this time. Now it's 12, it's 10, it's 9, 8, 7, 6.
Well, you talk about bad coaching. Not only have they failed to get him on the platform in time on both occasions, really, because he had to rush that second lift, they've also overestimated his ability. They haven't read the signs in the warm-up room. He started 125 on the snatch, missed it, just managed to get it on his third attempt. They've put unnecessary pressure on their athlete. It's very bad coaching.
Well, Zhigao, 152.5 kilos, and this to me is good coaching, because they're not being over ambitious, they're being very realistic,
and they're watching what the other competitors are doing, and they're giving their man the right weights.
Well, Zhigao, there's still of course Wu Meiyin and there's Yang, but Zhigao is leading overall in the total, and this would increase his advantage to 5 kilos over Yang. As you said, another good clean, but this time the jerk is as good as and he puts the package together, and he's had a cracking day. Silver medalist back in 1999. Who knows, David? 277.5 is his finishing total. You can see the delight, but all they can do now is watch the television backstage and hope that things don't go so well for their opponents. Zhigao in the clean and jerk, 152.5. He occupies silver medal position in the clean and jerk because of his heavier body weight. Wang of Taipei, who's got one lift left, leads those particular rankings, but waiting in the wings yet to start, Wu Mei-yin. And Yang.
Well, Yang is in exactly the same position as he was after the snatch. He's now left with one attempt to make a total.
So if he fails this, then he's guaranteed a medal in the clean and jerk, because even if Wu Mei-yin comes out and takes the gold, the worst that can happen to Zhigao is that he'll be knocked down to bronze medal. So a lot to go for here, because this 152.5 would lift Yang into the clean and jerk medals, into silver.
Not easy now. He needs to settle himself. Didn't get underneath it last time. Does this time. That was a good lift.
You wouldn't have put a lot of money on him coming out and doing that, would you? At 277.5, and suddenly Zhigao is not smiling quite so broadly, because he's been knocked off the top of the overall podium positions, because Yang is low.
So it's all up to Wu now. Bar will go to 155 kilos. That's 340 pounds.
But still, you've got to say, Zhigao, a bronze in the snatch. At the moment, he's in bronze medal position in the clean and jerk, and he's in silver medal overall. So it hasn't been a bad day for him. So with just Wu to come,
yeah, he's guaranteed a third. He's guaranteed a bronze overall, whatever happens.
Yeah.
So that's a good day's, and he knew that after the after this clean and jerk. So it's been a reasonable day. So this, the man who was leading after the snatch, did 127.5.
Well, this is to wrap up all the golds.
This is for all the golds, and it will mean success with this will mean that China will 6 of the available gold medals in the first 2 categories, male and female. But he's still got to do it.
I think he will.
Very powerful in the legs. We saw that in the snatch lift, and no problem whatsoever. You never know. He's got no pressure on him whatsoever now. All the gold medals are his. What's he going to do? Is he going to call it a day, or is he going to make an attempt at the world record? Very, very powerful in the legs. Have absolutely no problem whatsoever standing up with that weight of 155. We are, of course, 13 kilos away from Lu's world and that triple bodyweight world record.
Well, thanks for your email, Kevin Stewart. Just in an email, David, in response to our discussion earlier on about, should we kill off the snatch and, just go for the clean and jerk. Well, Kevin's, just to paraphrase it, when it's not broken, don't try and fix it. He thinks it's just right as it is now, good for the tactics, and it's not that complicated. So that's one view. There'll be plenty of you out there with maybe the same view as Kevin, or different ideas. We'd love to hear from you. Meanwhile, Wang on stage, 157.5 kilos. Wang Xinya of Taipei. Ooh, 5 kilos too far. So he's lifted out, and that's left him in silver medal position in the clean and jerk. So nothing much has changed, to be honest, David.
No, it's just left now to the Chinaman, Wu, to decide on what weight he wants. Now, what weight does he want? Is he going to go? I mean, he could, in theory, just leave it, or he could run through his lifts, or he could give everybody a treat and make an attempt at the senior world record.
Well, he's certainly going to go for the 160, and he lifted 162.5 in Busan to go with the 130 on the snatch to give himself a 292.5 282.5 total. At the moment, he's sitting on, 282.5 as a total. So I think it's fair to say that this has been a pretty comfortable evening for the Asian Games champion.
So 8 kilos off the world record, 8 kilos off of triple body weight, 350 pounds.
Let's just see. I don't think he'll be trying 168, David.
I'm surprised at that because he's looked so powerful in the legs.
Well, he missed the second snatch, and that was a surprise for us. And he came back and showed us how good he is with the third snatch. Is he going to do the same again? But I can't see much point in putting the bar up. I think it's.
I mean, really, in reality, he doesn't need to do this. I mean, it kind of doesn't really mean anything because,
well, not unless he's
got all the gold medals. He's done 162.5 before. So what does 160 actually give him? It doesn't give him. It doesn't even give him a personal best.
No,
and it's very difficult for your third attempt on 160 when you've already got all the medals wrapped up. Maybe if this was to win the gold, it would be a different, a different story. So, if I was one of the coaches in the warm-up room, I would be asking him, what would motivate you? And maybe 165 would be a better attempt because it would mean something. It would mean a new personal best. I don't know. Maybe 160 doesn't really mean enough to him.
Mind you, it does put everything into perspective when you look at Halil Mutlu's 305 total to see that he's sitting at the moment on 282.5. It just does underline just how good Halil Mutlu is, how special he is, and how much he's missed. Because not only is he missed as a great lifter, but he's missed as a great personality. Because he always gets the crowd going.
Chinese even grow their thumbnails longer so they can get a better grip. There's the leg power. Well, 168 is not that far away.
And you asked the question why. Well, maybe he just wanted to show that he isn't that far away from Halil Mutlu. Maybe that was the message that he had in his mind and the coaches had in their minds to say to him, okay, we've only made 4 out of 6, but we've won all the gold medals. We haven't threatened the records, but we're coming.
And also perhaps he wanted to finish on a success.
So a very straightforward thing, and that the Asian Games champion is now the world champion. Overall, Yang of Taipei takes the silver, and Adrian Jigau of Romania in overall bronze.
And this man's only 22, so he's got plenty of...
He's got years.
He's going to reach his peak at the next Olympic Games. That's when he's going to be at his best, and that's probably what he's looking at. This is just a stepping stone. So China, 6 golds out of 6.
But to be fair, not to take anything away from them, David, neither Wang in the women's division or Wu in the men's 56 kilos tonight were pushed. They weren't being pushed, and that's really what you want to see. They were operating within pretty reasonable limits. They needed a Mutlu. We needed a Mutlu here to, really just, relate those Asian performances. And maybe in another way, David, maybe this competition coming pretty close on the heels of Busan was difficult for them. So, difficult to, get themselves wound up for a second major competition.
Well, in Busan, he did 130 and 162. So he's down on that performance by 2.5 on each lift, 5 kilos on the overall. So as you say, it's not priority.
Well, the Chinese wagon rolls on, and Wu, Wang and Yang, that's the way it was in
they've been split by the Romanian.
Yes, I thought it was going to be Dobeniev who was going to...
Wu, Yang, Adrian, Wang. So at least it still rhymes.
And you can see body weight playing its part there. Zhigao just that fraction heavy at 55.70, and as a result of that, getting the overall bronze as opposed to the overall silver. But I think he'll still be pleased to be going home with that overall bronze medal. And there they are. So we've got plenty to come. Just to give you a taster, tomorrow 3 competitions here from Warsaw. The women's 53 kilo competition, and that's going to feature 48 kilo champion Tara Knott of the United States against Barbara Sakmaczynska of Poland. So that should get the crowd and the fans here into the hall. But of course there's always a Chinese athlete, and it's Li Shuzhu who'll be or I should say expected to do really well. Also Donka Mincheva for Bulgaria, who's one of the more experienced lifters. But Ri Song Hui of the People's Republic of Korea, she's the one who's posted the heaviest numbers. She's posted 230 kilos, and that's 5 kilos up on the total that she achieved in Busan in winning the Asian Games title. So maybe it won't be a Chinese victory, but it could go to Korea, possibly tomorrow. As well as the women's 53 kilos, we've got the women's 8 kilos. And that features for Poland, Marietta Gottfried, Emin Bilgin, Maris Turcot, the sister of Karin, who was in action earlier today, and the return of the Olympic champion, Soraya Jimenez of Mexico, who was the surprise winner of that gold medal. And that's quite an open affair, that women's 58 kilo competition. But it's open with one exception, and that's Song of China. And the total she's suggesting tomorrow, 240 kilos. Well, that's...
Well, that's 30 kilos above the rest of the field. It's huge.
And of course, tomorrow we've also got in the men's categories Leonidas Sabanis of Greece in action in the men's 62 kilos, and he's got some decent competition. Su of China, both of them are posting 310 totals. Li Mao Sheng of China, very experienced now, and the Bulgarian Stefan Georgiev, who's looking for victory with a total of 315 kilos, along with Im Yong-soo of the People's Republic of Korea, 320. So I think tomorrow's competitions, David, shaping up to be a little bit more competitive than the opening 2 categories today. But take nothing away.